I don't think that this is a political issue. This is not politics. I don't base my position on this depending on what news channel it's coming off of or what media influencer is saying that. Like, this is just, to me, the difference between right and wrong. Hello, welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Please subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today. Issues that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us that are trying to raise children in the insanity known as today's society. We are not CEOs of big corporations, we are not part of the mainstream media, and we do not live in the Hollywood bubble. We are also not politicians in Washington, D.C., but we do have to live with the decisions being made and the narrative being pushed by the people in the previously mentioned categories. If you feel like that describes you, please like this video, leave a comment below, share it, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel. All of these things help me to grow my channel and hopefully to reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides that I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. So I'm sure most of you have noticed that pretty much everything is political these days, and it's really exhausting because I think that it really keeps us from being able to have conversations about pretty much any issue and come to any solution, because we've already got in the back of our mind how that person voted, so I'm probably going to disagree with you, and we shut down in a lot of ways. Or we think that people have particular positions just because their guy in Congress or their governor supported it, and they hold this position because their governor or their guy in Congress is against it, guy or girl. And it makes it really difficult to solve problems and to make decisions based on what truly is political versus what is solely based on what's right and wrong and beneficial and really will contribute to the welfare and the success of our communities and our schools and our cities, and to make things safer and to make our children safer. We can't have discussions about these things without assuming that the only reason someone holds a particular position is because their political party holds that position. And it just makes it difficult to move beyond that or to unify on anything. So I just wanted to talk about a few of the issues that I really think have taken on politics, have become political when they really honestly should not be political. And these are not things that we should be divided on, and they are not positions that should be controversial in any way. And these are issues that we should still be able to talk about and universally agree on, that regardless of your political affiliation, that these things really do come down to what is right and wrong and what is good for everybody in general. So let's talk about it. So first, let's talk about the sexualization of children. And if you are on this channel and happen to be somebody that votes left, please hear me out on this before you assume what my position is or assume what I'm going to say. Just a few years ago, I think we can all agree that most of us were on the same page when it came to what content is appropriate for children, whether it be books or movies or cartoons, that we agreed that children, especially at a really young age, needed to have their innocence protected, that their minds were not developed enough to handle certain concepts, that there should be ratings on different things so that we knew kind of what was appropriate to put in front of our kids and what was not. We used to agree that having too much of a focus on sexuality at a young age was detrimental, or that adults having private conversations with kids about sexual ideas, about sexuality, was not okay, and that parents needed to be involved and to know what their children were being introduced to when they were not around. These are all things that we used to agree on. And we used to agree that vetting people, the people that come around our children and into our schools, was important, and that all children deserve to be protected from anybody that could potentially do them harm or want to prey on them. And we also used to agree that adults that were attracted to children really were in need of psychiatric help and did not belong anywhere within 100 miles of a school or any child in general. So these are all things that we used to agree on. And I never imagined a time when any of these things would be controversial and that I wouldn't be able to have a conversation in general without being labeled as a bigot or a phobic of some kind. We used to agree that school libraries really should have books that focused on character building messages and positive messages, and that graphic material had no place in our school libraries. And we used to agree that no sane parent would allow their child to dance on stage for money, or put their child on a pole with a stripper, or allow a child to attend an event or a parade where there were adults running around naked. Like, these are all things that we used to be pretty unified on. And like I said, I never imagined a time when parents who disagreed with these things would be labeled as bigots and discriminatory and phobics of some kind. I don't want my child protected from these things just because I vote a certain way. And I don't want your child to be less protected from them because you vote a certain way. I don't think that the development of our children and their well-being and their safety is dependent on what governor is saying what, or what message is coming from the White House. I feel like it's a pretty universal standard to say that certain things are just not appropriate for children, that children should just be allowed to be kids, and that they shouldn't have access to everything that adults have access to. And I think it really makes it impossible to have a conversation about what is and is not best for children, what should and should not be in schools. And this idea that parents that are against it are somehow trying to hold their children back is just that much more detrimental to the conversation. It makes it impossible for parents to come together and truly fight for the success and the well-being of kids in general. I don't think that this is a political issue. This is not politics. I don't base my position on this depending on what news channel it's coming off of or what media influencer is saying that. Like, this is just, to me, the difference between right and wrong, and what's safe for our kids and what's not, and what's helpful to their development or not. And I think as a parent that you deserve the right to decide when your child, the child that you know best, is ready for these conversations and these topics, and that you will know them best far more than any teacher that comes into their lives or anybody from any outside influence. You know them best, and I want your rights as a parent to be respected and protected regardless of what it is that you believe. And I'm hoping that we can start to have more conversations centered on that, and not automatically assume that because you're on the right, I'm not even going to talk to you about it. I'm not even going to listen to you, and I'm just going to assume that you're being discriminatory and hateful. And because you're on the left, I'm going to assume that you don't actually care about the well-being of children. So that's just one of the issues. The next one, this is the idea of allowing children to make life-changing decisions about their body, especially at a really young age. It was really interesting. Yesterday I was watching this video on YouTube, and it was from about 2012. And I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where it's a what would you do situation, where there's a camera crew, they hire two actors, generally an adult and a child, and put them in some kind of scenario in public. And, you know, they kind of have them act out this scenario, generally some kind of negative connotation, just to see how the members of the public will act around them, if anybody will speak up or respond. And a lot of times these videos give me a lot of faith in humanity. They restore my faith in humanity, because a lot of people do step in for the protection of, you know, whatever the scenario is and the individual involved in the scenario. So yesterday I was watching this video where the two actors, one was a mom, one was a daughter, about 16, 17, and she was buying a dress for homecoming or prom. And the idea was that this mom was going to talk to this daughter and like kind of tell her how her body didn't look good and that she had a really flat chest, and try to encourage her into getting implants, and really trying to make her feel less confident about her body so that she could talk her into getting these implants. And there were a lot of comments on this video. There were a lot of the people that stepped in, and the moms that were kind of in the surrounding audience or surrounding scenario, you know, with their daughters trying on dresses, saying, you know, she's too young to make that decision, or, you know, you really need to help her like love her body and feel good about who she is, and then she can decide what she wants to do. And this was only from 10 years ago. And I think a lot of us had this idea that girls that wanted to get breast implants when they were 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, that was really sad, that it showed them not loving their body or lacking confidence in some way, and that we really needed to encourage girls to love their body, to love their shape, to love their uniqueness. And then, you know, as an adult, if they still felt the same way, that they were ready to kind of grasp the long-term implications of making that decision. And then in these videos, you know, the camera crew comes out and they talk to the people, you know, the unsuspecting bystanders, and say, hey, we were actually just filming this. Like, why did you respond the way that you did? And, you know, the general consensus was that, you know, this girl's too young. She really needs to be lifted up and to love who she is. And then, you know, as she gets older, she can kind of make those decisions. So, you know, this is something, you know, that there's proof that this is something that we all agreed on not that long ago, that kids are not mentally developed enough to decide to make these permanent decisions about their body because they don't understand what it means. And as adults looking in, like, we know that we have a bigger understanding and a greater grasp on what it means to make these decisions. And we know what the long-term implications are and the responsibility and the commitment of those decisions, which is why it is our job to guide our kids into adulthood to a time when they can make these decisions. And this is something that we used to be pretty standard across the board on, that we weren't arguing about. It wasn't considered controversial. And now we have this idea where it's become okay for kids to decide to chop off their breasts or to chop off their, you know, genitalia, and that they are fully capable of understanding what that means for the rest of their life. And we are seeing more and more and more proof that that is not the case. The experiences of mass regret in young adults is becoming more and more common. They're speaking out more and more. Young adults who are now coping with the knowledge that their body does not have the function or the feeling that it should, that they'll never be able to have kids, or that their body was perfectly healthy before they were allowed to make this decision, and wondering why the adults around them allowed them to do this to themselves. And you know why else kids should be left to make these decisions about their bodies when they're older and can understand the long-term repercussions and the implications of it? Because there's a really good chance that they won't do it. And you know how I know that? Because we have not had this phenomenon in society where all of the adults who do understand the long-term repercussions of chopping off body parts, we haven't seen this large group of adults make this decision when they do get older. We haven't had this phenomenon in society where suddenly all of these adults, as they get older, decide that their breasts are oppressing them, or that, you know, there is something wrong, or they feel this major detachment between their mind and their body. Usually what happens as we get older is that we become more accepting of our bodies, that we recognize that not everybody is shaped the same, and that that's okay, and that our uniqueness is amazing, and that, you know, what our body looks like is really something that we shouldn't be obsessing about constantly, and that it's not healthy. And I know that the general media, or, you know, activists or whoever else wants to tell you that these regret stories are not very common, but they really are, and they are absolutely heartbreaking to read. And it's really creating confusion in children where there wouldn't have been any confusion otherwise. So to me, I don't hold this position again because of who because it aligns with my side of the political aisle, or because of a certain person in Congress like creating legislation or bills or speaking out in a certain way about it. Like, this is not a political thing. This is not opposing Democrats. This is not opposing the other side of the political aisle. This is looking at kids and understanding as an adult what it means to make these decisions, and knowing that there is a really good chance that this kid is going to grow into an adult and look at their body and wonder why the heck they were allowed to do this. And I have, as I've said before, this is not about some kind of transphobia. I'm not scared of gender identity. I'm not scared of people that want to express themselves in different ways. I am truly scared for these kids, and it has nothing to do with politics. I'm truly scared about what's going to happen when the realization hits them like a ton of bricks in just a few years, as we're seeing happen more and more and more. So again, not political, just genuine concern for what is happening right now. One more issue, the issue of public safety. This is not political. I don't just want my home protected. I don't just want my city to feel safe. I don't want just my neighborhood to not have crime in it. I want everybody to feel like they can leave their home and not have to constantly look over their shoulder. I want everybody to feel safe when they are walking down the streets of their city, of their neighborhood, of their community. I think everybody deserves to feel protected and to feel like the laws that are being passed in that area are in your favor, are to keep you from having run-ins with criminals, to keep you from being attacked or assaulted or robbed, or to have your car stolen, or any of these things. This is not a political issue. I don't just want Republicans protected. I don't just want Democrats to feel protected. I want everybody to feel protected. I want people that are breaking the law to be held accountable for that, to face real consequences, because consequences are actually a deterrent a lot of times when people know that they are going to have to face the music if they break the law. I want that for everybody. I want everybody to live in a society where if you break the law, you don't just get to walk away from that and to wreak more havoc on society. I don't want just red states to feel safe. I don't want you to just feel safe if you fly an American flag in your front yard or fly nothing at all in your front yard. I don't want you to feel safe because of your skin color or because of your religious affiliation or how you voted. Like, this is not a political issue. We all deserve to have public safety. We all deserve to have criminals removed from our neighborhood, so we don't have to worry about our kids walking to school, or we don't have to worry about what's happening right in front of our businesses and walking through feces and drugs and homelessness, and worried about if we're going to be able to get back to our own car safely. That's not political. This is a general across the aisle. We should want everybody to feel safe and to live in safe cities and to live in safe neighborhoods. One more thing that is not political is science. Science is not political. This is something where the evidence and the data shows what it shows. Either something is effective or it's not effective. Either something works or it doesn't work. Either something works for someone better than it does for someone else. You either have male biology or you have female biology. Please don't click out of this video, especially if you are a leftist, but let's talk about this. It's not discriminatory or biased or bigoted or phobic to look at someone who is 6'4" and has lived their entire life as a male and who is competing against a biological woman that is like a foot shorter than they are, with a quarter of the arm span, with a fraction of the muscle mass, with a small portion of their endurance, and say that the only reason that you think that this is unfair is because of your political bias, because that's what your party thinks, because that is what your president or your governor or your congressperson thinks. It has nothing to do with that. Anybody that has eyes can look and say, that's not fair. And my question to you is, these women that are competing, where are they supposed to go? Because there is not another division for them. There is not another team for them. They are on this team because that is where their biology put them. This biological male already has a team, already has a division, already has an area outlined because of his weight and his strength and his physical makeup. So when you take him and say, if you want to be a woman, that's fine. We'll put you over here just because you say you're a woman, and ignore the fact that he's a foot taller and has this mass advantage of muscle mass over these women. And you want to ignore that. What are these women supposed to do? Where are they supposed to go? Because there's not another place for them. They are on this team. They are in this sport. This is where they have worked to succeed. They can't just go join another team. They can't just go join another division. Whereas this guy here, he has a place that is already based on how he's made and how he competes and his ability to perform. This is not something that's political. This is what I'm seeing with my own eyes, and this is not about hurting feelings. This is not about trying to discriminate. This is truly about, if you want to talk about equal opportunity, you are taking the opportunity and making it completely unequal and unbalanced and unfair for these women. So I'm interested to hear. Please drop it in the comments. Tell me exactly how that is fair and how that is something that, is political, and, that it really is just a position depending on who you voted for. Like you really only feel that way because of who you voted for. Explain that to me. Last but not least, I'm just going to talk briefly on this. Secure elections. This is not a political issue. This is not controversial. We should all want our elections to be secure. We should all want to know who is voting in our elections. We should all want clean voter rolls with people that are not dead on them. We should all want to make sure that everybody is getting one ballot, and that the people that are voting in our elections are actually citizens of this country, who actually pay taxes in this country, who actually contribute to society, because we are the ones that understand how these policies are going to affect our communities and our cities and our schools and our children and our families. We are the ones that are putting into society, and we need to know, we need to have a say in who we're putting into office, and that say needs to be clear cut. And I'm not saying that just because I think it's going to benefit a Republican candidate more or benefit a Democrat candidate more. When we have secure elections, we are able to look at what's happening in our country or in our, local area and to shift gears and to say, you know what, this candidate and their policies is not working very well. Let's shift gears, and if the people feel like somebody else can do a better job and improve things, that they have the opportunity to vote for that person, right or left, and to make sure that their voices are heard and that they're not marred by people getting too many ballots, or people that aren't even alive being able to somehow submit a ballot, or not having it verified that those who are voting actually contribute in the same way that we do. This is not discriminatory. This is not based on who I want to win and who I want to lose. This is that I truly want the people's voice to be heard and their wishes to be known, and to be respected. And regardless of who ends up in office, if it truly is the will of the people to have Fetterman in Pennsylvania win, so be it. If it's truly the will of the people to have Charlie Crist win in Florida, so be it. If it is truly the will of the people for Beto O'Rourke to win in Texas, so be it. But we can't know that that is truly the will of the people unless our elections are clean, they're secure, they're verified, and then we really know what the people want. And then we really truly have the opportunity to course correct and to change direction along the way, and truly have people that represent us that really reflect our values, that really reflect what we want and reflect the direction that we want to go in. I know that there are a lot of issues that are like this, that is really not about what, the right or the left. And we really need to be able to have a conversation about these issues and not just shut down and not be able to talk about them because of somebody else's political affiliation, and say that I'm not even going to listen to you. I'm just going to assume that you're a bigot and that you're discriminatory and that you hate this country, or, you know, whatever the thought process is. And I'm not going to listen because of who you voted for, or who you're registered as, or what you're registered as. Because when we put that label on it, when we just make every single thing political, it makes us incapable of solving problems. We can't solve any issues. We can't look at things for what they are. We can't look at things based on what is right and wrong, what's harmful and what's not, what's safe and what's not, what's beneficial and what's not, what's going to create success and what's not. I hope that we can kind of get back to being able to do that, because it really wasn't that long ago where we were having those conversations and we could talk about policy and we could disagree on things, but agree on the fundamental basics of, you know, these are the things that are not political. These are really just an issue of what's right or wrong, what's good or bad, what's safe and not safe. So let me know what your thoughts are. What other issues do you think that are have taken on a political tone that really just should not be political? Let me know, and be sure to like and subscribe, help me to grow this channel, and I will see you next time.